Welcome to Strongman Nutrition 101. Nutrition is a key component to your success as a strength athlete, and it's an area that's often misunderstood or completely overlooked in a lot of strongman and strongwoman competitors. So, with Strongman Nutrition 101, the goal is to give you an understanding of the foods you're putting into your body, why they might change, how much you need to put in, and exactly what to do to achieve your goals. When we're starting with nutrition, the very first thing we're covering is calories. Calories are a unit of energy. So, whatever your goal is, whether you're trying to get stronger, build muscle, burn fat, stay the same weight, and change your composition around, it's very important that we figure out our calorie amount. For all of us, and this depends, it's different from individual to individual, we're burning calories throughout the day. This can change from your age, your gender, your body fat percentage, how much you're training, your activity level throughout the day. There's a lot of factors that go into this, but let's just give you a general understanding before we dive a little more in depth. So, with calories, all of our macronutrients have an amount of calories in them. So, carbs have 4 calories for every gram. Protein has 4 calories for every gram. Fats have 9 calories for every gram. But of course, it's not as simple as just figuring out your calorie amount and hitting it with whatever you want. So, carbs and fats are more so fuel sources. Carbs go to power more short term type activities. So, in strength sports, very important because this is going to be the fuel that's best utilized in the energy systems that we're using in our training and competition. But fats go to power more endurance type activities. This also bleeds into our recovery, and fats have a lot of these micronutrients in them that go to support our hormone levels, brain health, eyesight, and things like that. So we can never go completely without one. Now, protein, even though it has a unit of energy with it, it's 4 calories per gram. Protein is used by the body as a building block. So when we're breaking down our muscles in training, protein is what's going into those muscles to rebuild them and help them regrow stronger. So it's important to always prioritize that you're getting the right amount of protein in. We're going to do deeper dives in the sections on these individually, but as a general starting point for protein, if you don't know where to start, eat 1 gram per pound of body weight. It's a great place to start. It can go higher than that, but if you don't know where to begin, start shooting for that. So if you're a 200-pound individual, 200 grams of protein should be your immediate goal. Now, with macronutrients, we also have micronutrients. These are just the vitamins and minerals that are in our foods. It's very important that we're eating high quality foods because we're going to get a much bigger bang for our buck to keep our bodies healthy, to support things like our organ function, and just have a better energetic profile. So when we are higher energy, when we are healthier, we're going to be able to do all those things, train harder, recover faster, and compete at a higher level. Now, when we're figuring out our calories, this is always a little tricky, but the best thing you can do is to start tracking your foods accurately so that you can figure out exactly what these numbers are for you. I'll give you some formulas, but there's a lot of different things that can change this from person to person and also your past and your background. So with calories, we want to start looking at first thing, the BMR. This is your basal metabolic rate. And that just means that's the amount of calories that you're going to burn in a day at rest. So if you were to wake up, sit on your couch, and just exist there for 24 hours, you are going to be burning a set amount of calories. That's going to all the things your body needs: see, hear, think, power your organs, power your brain, keep your joints fresh and healthy. It's all these like regenerative processes because your body is always sort of regrowing and repairing at different rates and levels. It's always burning calories, right? A very basic way to start by figuring out your BMR, if you're not using an app, which I would honestly recommend, it's totally worth it. But if not, You can start by multiplying your weight in kilograms by 24. Okay, now with this is one of the factors that's going to change this quite a lot, is we would then want to multiply it by our activity level. I'm not going to give you too much specifics on that, but I want you to consider if you have a desk job and you are the exact same height, weight, size as this person over here who is a manual laborer, they work in construction, obviously that person is going to be burning a lot more calories throughout the day. So we have to factor in our activity level on top of our BMR to figure out the total amount of calories we're burning throughout the day. As I said earlier, a lot of variables go into this, including your body fat percentage, weight, age, gender, but also your past dietary history. A lot of times people have done crash diets or fad diets where it could sink your metabolism and bring it way, way, way down. So even though you could figure out your activity level perfectly, you can build the formula to match exactly your body fat, weight, all that stuff. If you had one of those crash diets in the past, you could be burning something crazy low. And the only way that you would know that for sure is by tracking accurately the foods you're putting in and assessing it, comparing it to your change in weight. So very simple. If you are gaining weight, you are eating more calories than what your body is burning throughout the day. If you are losing weight, you are eating less than what your body is burning throughout the day. And this is really important to know because at some point, we're all going to be wanting to go through a bulk, a cut, or just a composition change. So when we know the right number that we have to be at just to maintain weight or build or cut, then we could do it much more easily and much more efficiently. More on this in later sections, but when we stay in that zone, let's just say, for example, you figure out your calorie number for the day is 2,600. We want to stay close to that in either direction. If we want to cut fat, we're going to want to stay 200 to 300 under that 2,600 calorie level, because when we're doing that, we're giving our body enough fuel to perform all those healthily body functions, to keep us high energy and only burn fat. When we start getting a little too low, let's say we were to drop by 500, or some people even go 800 calories under, you're going to start to eat away at muscle tissue. You're going to take fuel sources away from those healthy body functions that you need. So it's important to stay within a close range for this. This is about building quality muscle or shedding quality fat. So we're making the right kinds of gains by staying close to that, which we can only figure out if we're tracking accurately. Now, a lot of people will go to the gym and get on a cardio machine and they'll look at that number and say, oh, I burned 300 calories during this workout. And they adjust their foods throughout the day and give themselves an extra 300 calories because they're thinking, oh, I burned 300, so I can have 300 more. It's not that simple because our metabolism is influenced over the course of a day and even weeks, depending on the workouts that you are doing. So, for example, a high intensity interval training workout for 15 minutes has been shown to increase your metabolic rate for 24, sometimes up to 48 hours. So even if you're accounting for the calories burned in that window, according to your tracker, watch, whatever you're doing, there's actually much more going on throughout the course of many hours past that. So it's just not the right way to approach figuring out your calorie levels. This is why we want to look at averages over the week, is because this is not just a daily process. This is happening over several days. And over the course of a week or so, your activity is going to be, let's say, leveled out over all of those days, and we'll be able to figure out that number where you're on average burning, let's say, 2,600 calories. That's how we figure this out. When we're figuring out our BMR, protein first. I'll say that over and over and over again. It's important to get that protein in and get it high right out the gate, because that's what's allowing ourselves to be in an anabolic state and be in a mode where our body is anabolic, growing, recovering, and repairing from the damage we're doing day in and day out in our training. So with this, if we figured out how many calories we need, We then need to focus on quality. And I think the two biggest important things to focus on if you're just getting started with tracking your foods and taking this seriously is one, get that protein up 1 gram per pound of body weight. And then two, focus on the quality of your food. There's a lot of different reasons for this, but ultimately it's just about you're getting much more from high quality foods than lower quality, typically processed type things. Now, what does this mean? First, bioavailability. Bioavailability in fresh fruits, vegetables, meats, there are more vitamins and minerals, but they're actually, again, bioavailability means that they are more likely to be used by your body. So if something is processed over and over and over again, let's say you could go to the grocery store, you can go to the frozen section and get cutlets of plain chicken breast because that has been prepared, freeze dried, and then probably have some things added into it for like preservatives. It's stripping away all those things that are in the chicken that's allowing your body to break down the proteins and send it right to the areas that it needs to be. So that's why it's so important to eat fresh and eat foods that you are cooking yourself, because you're going to get 10 times more out of them in some cases. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to do it all of the time, but this should be a very, very high priority to do this as much as possible. I understand that food is expensive. I get it. Right now, at the time of this video, eggs are like $3 a dozen at the cheapest. So you can't always go for that, but as much as possible, you have to go for those high quality foods because they will also be easier on your digestion. A lot of people, when they go to eat clean for the first time, are eating a higher volume of food than they thought they would be, right? Because fresh foods are more filling, right? So when we have things like rice, sweet potatoes, beef, chicken, our body's going to easily digest this so it can get in and out of our system, but also spread through our body and our system where it needs to go. If we are just full and bloated all of the time, first off, you're going to feel like crap. Second off, you're not going to get the energy from those foods that you need to power your training and your life. And third, you're going to have the worst BMs of all time. That's a different story. Moving into NPU, net protein utilization, the higher quality our protein is, in protein specifically, animal-based sources, the more the protein is used in our body. We'll break this more down in the protein section, but it's been scientifically verified. Things like eggs and beef, if you have 20 grams of protein from that, you use a significantly higher percentage of them than things like soy protein, lentils, or any of that type of stuff. So we'll get more into that in protein, but just quality is so important. And then value. If you take the time to meal prep and cook these things out in advance, you buy in bulk, I guarantee you the value of this for your dollar is going to be a lot cheaper overall than you think. So with that, quality foods, just avoid things that are over processed. Should all the time anyways, but it's really important because as people that are trying to grow, we want to kind of constantly break down, build up, break down, build up, break down, build up. If we're eating things that are processed, they're full of preservatives and other things that are just unnatural that can prevent you from recycling the bad tissue and growing the new tissue. Just that simple. Now, balance. We have to find the right balance of carbs, proteins, and fats to fill out that calorie allotment. As I've said before, very important, protein first, and then we need to modify for our goals. As strength athletes, we are doing a lot of quick, explosive, power-based training. Carbs are the fuel source that go to power those types of activities, so carbs should be prioritized. Now, this is just all going to depend on who you are, your preferences, your availability for foods, but fats have to stay in the equation, but they can be used in different ways strategically. If you're somebody who's trying to bulk and you have to eat a lot of food and it's uncomfortable how much food you have, having more fats in your system is going to be much easier to reach a higher calorie total number because they have 9 calories per gram. So use it to your advantage, right? Always go high protein, carbs support your training, and then fats have to be in because they balance your hormones. Now, this is just a general overview, but I want you to understand this point that the percentages can vary. You'll see all sorts of debates online. None of them really mean anything, but oh, you should have 50% carbs to make up your total calorie allotment. You should have 40% protein, 30% carbs, 30% fats. The thing is there are things that are optimal, but optimal is always the enemy of practical. So if you're worried about hitting a certain percentage, that really is just causing you a little bit of unnecessary stress. What is important to do is to hit your protein, hit your total calorie numbers, and then over time adjust in the direction that you need to go. So if you're tracking and assessing, it's more than just tracking your foods and tracking your weight. You should be monitoring your energy levels, how you feel, your sleep. Are you sleeping well? Are you training well? You know, these are all things that matter. So if we know this food tracking and weight tracking is locked in, then we can balance and change our percentages. Maybe we try to shift higher carbs, lower fats, or the other direction. You'll be able to see a difference and you'll know exactly what is making the difference when we're being accurate and tracking. So it's very important to get into doing that, to figure out your calorie number and push it in the direction that you need for your goals. So up next, we're going to start breaking one by one down on these carbs, proteins, and fats. Stay tuned.